Dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity to talk about combating food waste in the EU. The Union, as one of the richest and the most prosperous communities in the world, has a moral and political obligation to reduce huge quantities of food wasted every year. Estimates show that 88 million tons of food are wasted in the EU every year. The production or disposal of EU food waste leads to the emission of 170 million tons of CO2 and consumes 261 million tons of resources. On the global level, there are differences in when and where food waste and food losses occur. In industrial countries, most wastage is concentrated at the final stages, namely distribution and consumption. Whereas in developing countries, it is concentrated at the early stages, owing to the lack of advanced agricultural practices, efficient transport system, and infrastructure and secure storage facilities. According to the estimates of the Fusions project, the sectors contributing the most to food waste in the EU are households with 53% and processing with 19%. Food service sector contributes with 12%, primary production with 10%, and whole retail with 5%. Food wastage happens along the entire food supply chain, and all actors have a responsibility to take measures to prevent and reduce the problem. The complexity of the problem calls for a coordinated policy response on the EU and Member States level that takes into account policies regarding waste, food safety and information, but also aspects of economic, research and innovation, environment, agriculture, education and social policy. Currently, there are 52 EU acts that have a certain impact, positive or negative, on food waste. 29 regulations, 10 directives, 3 decisions, 10 communications and 1 resolution. EU policy areas that they cover are agriculture, fisheries, taxation, consumer protection, environment, finances, economy, public health, industrial policy and internal market. In the context of aiming to reduce food waste, the European Commission is looking at relevant legislation to see is it fit for purpose and identify if there are gaps, overlaps, or areas in need of a clarification or further action. Moreover, there is a clear need to improve citizens' understanding of food, food safety and food waste and its causes. According to Eurobarometer survey done in 2015, 47% of Europeans understand the meaning of best before labeling and 40% are aware of the meaning of use by. At the same time, nearly 6 in 10 Europeans state that they always check use by and best before labels when shopping and preparing meals, with very few indicated that they never do. These two findings confirm that the meaning of date marking found on food products is poorly understood and that this confusion adds to food waste rates. Consumer education is a critical area where a concerted effort is needed to reduce food waste. According to Eurobarometer, consumers recognize that they themselves have a role to play in preventing food waste. Over 3/4 of Europeans think that the individual consumer is one of the actors involved in the prevention of food waste. Moreover, in existing legislation, there are further issues which may have a negative impact on levels of food waste. For example, the EU VAT directive provides that food donations are taxable and that tax exemptions on food donations are not allowed. To go around this, the Commission recommends that for tax purposes, the value of donated food close to the best before date or not fit for sale should be set fairly low even close to zero. Some member states came up with legal ways to abandon donation taxation, but some, especially among the newer ones, have not. Croatia is a good example, as the government abolished the VAT on food donations in 2015. Economic and other incentives at member state level can be a strong signal to stakeholders to increase efforts in reducing food waste. Corporate tax incentives have demonstrated their effectiveness in encouraging food donations to food banks in countries like France and Spain. The questions about the liability of donors that arise from the general food law are an example of legal uncertainty. In principle, food donated in good faith and conforming to all the food safety and other laws should not land the donors into legal trouble. A form of Good Samaritan legislation at the EU level, while respecting the principle of subsidiarity, could lead to greater volumes of donated food. Such laws were passed in Italy by and have greatly contributed to food donation. With regards to this, it must be clear that food safety is a priority and food waste reduction measures must not compromise current standards of food safety. To reduce food waste, improve food safety as well as enhance the overall sustainability of food production, research and development have a highly important role in play in all sectors of the food supply and consumption chain. The development of innovative and environmentally friendly solutions should be encouraged and supported in areas including management of co- and by-products of food production, food storage, digital technologies and packaging. What is clear is that the European Union, member states, farmers, processors, packaging producers, transporters, retailers, food services, consumers and all the other stakeholders have a responsibility to act. Experience has shown that spontaneous initiatives taken by stakeholders, be they voluntary or professional, to publicize or bring about an anti-waste culture have generally been successful wherever they have been carried out. The European Commission and the member states should promote successful practices of food waste reduction and resource conservation methods already used by stakeholders. However, effective action to reduce food waste requires a comprehensive rethink of how we produce, market and consume food at each step in the food supply and consumption chain. This requires a common understanding of the issues at stake and close cooperation between all relevant stakeholders. There is food waste at every stage of the supply and consumption chain. That means that there is not a single silver bullet regulation that the EU can enforce that would solve the problem. We need a coordinated policy response at the EU and member state level that takes into account policies regarding waste, food safety and information, but also aspects of economic, research and innovation, environment, agriculture, education and social policy. The scope of the problem of food waste is vast, and it is clear that the European Union, member states, farmers, processors, packaging producers, transporters, retailers, food services, consumers, and all the other stakeholders have a responsibility to act. Otherwise, the efforts will be partial and the results insufficient. Effective action to reduce food waste requires a comprehensive rethink of how we produce, market and consume food at each step in food supply and consumption chain. This requires a common understanding of the issues at stake and close cooperation between all relevant stakeholders. Thank you, and I hope you have a productive discussion.